I started school at Lauca and lived with my grandparents who had the post office there during the week, and went to stay with my parents at Howgate at weekends. I liked Lauca. I had 3 friends, Willis Jackson, Belle Hill and Annie Moore. We had some good times playing in the rectory. There were swings, a roundabout and a zigzag. We also used to catch bumblebees in jam jars. And looking back, I am surprised we were never stung. In summer we sometimes went to the beach near Parton and had a picnic on the beach on what we called the Tea Party Rocks.
Well, I must have started in 1941, and I think you had to have had a 5th birthday. So I probably started Easter. It was the local village school that's still here now, but in those days it was for 5 to 14-year-olds, and it was halved. It wasn't half boys and girls, it was halved little school and big school. We had a teacher that taught us by rote. We all sat on the floor in front of a big blackboard, and she wrote cat, bat, mat, you know, and we said cat, and we learned like that. And it must have been a good method because everybody could read, and they could read before they were 11, you know. When we all left to go to another school at 11, we could all read.
Did he have individual reading books?
Not really, because it was wartime. There were some books, but we didn't get to look at them very much.
So it all went on.
And about 2 or 3 times a week, we got Mr. Scott, the headmaster. He was the headmaster of the big school. He used to come up to the Sunday school, and he introduced us to poetry, and I think that must have been his speciality. Because when we went to sit for the grammar school, a lot of the maths we'd never even heard of. I think it was, we hadn't done very much in decimals and fractions and things like that. And when we got the exam paper, there were some things I'd never even heard of, but he was great at poetry. He used to read us a lot, and we used to have to learn it. I can still remember poetry he taught us. He was a very tall, thin man. Now we were all frightened of him, and he was great with the cane.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Did you ever get the cane?
Yes. Would you not like to know what I got the cane for?
Yeah, go on.
Playing in the cloakroom when I should have been outside.
Wow, that was a terrible crime.
It was, wasn't it? Mind, I was quite aware it was a very big crime, and we had to stand with our hands out, and he walloped us.
Oh.
Yeah. I think he would have been counted as an abusive teacher now.
He enjoyed it, did he?
I think perhaps he did, yeah. But I didn't have a lot to do with him. As I say, there was only those odd lessons that he came up to the school.
Can you remember what?
Oh, the toilets were over the yard. Now in winter that was really awful, because I mean, right over the yard, it could be pouring down, and when you got there, they weren't really much better than outside, because it probably rained in, they were old.
Were there flush toilets though?
There were flush toilets, but they always seemed to be broken. This must have, they probably weren't, it's just in your memory, you think things like that, don't you? And they used to freeze up an awful lot, of course. I don't think I liked the cold when I was young, because most of my memories are of winter.
I'm talking to Maisie, who's going to tell us about nonconformity in Bissington, particularly in the 1920s and 1930s.
The Closed Brethren, this was part of the nonconformist churches. My granddad was very much involved in the Closed Brethren, and used to have meetings in his house. Lived at Robin Hood.
Was that at the Robin Hood or?
No, at Robin Hood.
At Robin Hood.
And they really were. They were connected with the Harrington group. And there used to be a man called Mr. Sims who used to come and take the services. And that was every Tuesday. And quite a few. I used to go occasionally. And it was quite well attended at them days. And all the family used to go at Harrington 3 times a day on a Sunday.
How many people used to go to the house then?
Oh, there would be 20.
Really?
Yeah. And they were all very much involved with the group. And they were, they were all happy. And of course, that was what you did in those days. Didn't. And
what happened at the services?
well, just an ordinary evangelistic service. Not hymns, no, because they didn't really like hymns. Just preaching and talking, reading the Bible.
And who used to do the Bible reading?
Well, my granddad used to do some of it, and Mr. Sims, they used to do the sermons.
Right. What was he like?
I'm talking, from sort of when in those days we could go out and play, Jill. Even at 4-year-old, we were allowed out to play on, 1943. That ish from then on. We were allowed out to play. It was safe. It was safe to play. Huge greens. Lots of boys and girls on Beck Green. A big family of us. And I remember the woods. We used to go over the bridge of Beck Green Beck and go up the woods. And there was one part of the woods, it was a lovely mossy bank, and the blueberries. And it was, when the blueberries were out, such a great thing, collecting these blueberries and having them with cream, fresh fruit. And then there was another part of the woods that we called the dolly beds. I mean, anybody that was born on Beck Green will remember the dolly beds. I don't know why they were called dolly beds, actually, really, because they were just little corpses, really, corpses. And we were allowed them days to make a fire. I mean, can you imagine kids going up the woods and making a fire now? Oh God, no. And we were allowed to make a fire, and we had a big pan, and we were allowed to make chips. And it was the highlight, of summer holidays, making chips. And Ginny Hodgin, that was one of the parents on there, used to say, right, we're going up to the dolly beds. And if any of the parents wanted us, they used to whistle. Dogs whistle. And that used to bring us all down. So it was Beck Green days, were happy days. Absolutely appalled when I think what we had in those days, 1945 till, onwards, what we had for our dinners, good hot meals, vegetables, potatoes, fresh meat, I mean the smell, as we were sitting in the classrooms and the smell used to waft across, we used to think, oh gosh, we're having tatey ash today, or a tatey pot, things like that. But the infant school, it was nice, the infant school. And I think perhaps the fondest memory of the infant school would be the little bottles of milk warming by the big open fires, and then at playtime getting the milk. And actually I don't like warm milk now. I don't know whether that had something to do with it or not, but I don't like warm milk now. Couldn't drink it.
Did you have to pay for the milk?
I don't remember paying for the milk. No, I don't. Don't remember paying for the milk at all, Jill. The gypsies on the green.
How many used to come?
Probably about 4 or 5 families. That's what my memory tells me anyhow. Seemed to be an awful lot of them in those caravans. But we thought the caravans were wonderful. I mean, it was always my dream to wander off with them and have a holiday in the caravan like that. So there were good days, and I don't remember anyone really reacting badly to them being there. How was today when you hear of gypsies settling and councils go and moving them on and such like. I don't remember them ever being any aggro about them being there. it was something that happened every year.
When did
They
they
came.
stop coming?
Well, I moved off Beck Green when I was 12. They were still coming down then. Probably about maybe in the 50s, maybe about 55, 56. I think that would be my last memory of them being there. I could be wrong because, you know, when you're that age, time doesn't mean anything to you, does it? You know, but they were happy days. And of course I always remember seeing them washing at the Beck, you know, going with the shirts and that and banging them on the stones and everything. So after that it was fun for us that when we got our socks dirty, when we were playing out, we used to go to the Beck and bang them on stones. Didn't that clean them? It really did clean them, especially if you got a white stone. It did, and we used to copy them and bang our socks on and hang them up to dry before we dare go home, you know. So yeah, and bathing in the Beck. I mean, Dissington Beck then, of course we had the dam in Prospect Wood, and twice a day the water was released, so the Beck flooded.
Is this from the fall?